Hi friends, I'm Bryn.
And I'm Molly.
And this is Friends Who Crime.
Do-do-do-do.
Do-do-do-do. Friends Who Crime. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast where we dive into true crime cases and have a new guest every single week. Today's guest is Molly. Hi Molly.
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
I am a graphic designer. I live in Chicago with my cat and my boyfriend. Went to college for music, actually. Still do a little bit of that. But yeah, just figuring out how to be an adult out here, you know.
Relatable.
Like we are.
And how do we know each other?
Bryn and I were in the same a cappella group in college. Well, she was a grad student. I was an undergrad. And she converted me to being a cat person somehow.
Yeah.
Never thought that would happen, but here we are. My senior year, we moved in together, and Bryn somehow got to live with 3 Mollies.
Yep.
The world is goofy like that, but yeah, had a good time. Went through COVID and quarantine together, and yeah, highlights. But yeah,
you were definitely like a core part of my COVID experience for sure.
As were you. A bond that will never be broken.
And what's your relationship like with true crime?
I'm a big Murder with My Husband fan. If you've heard of the podcast, I know you have.
Yes, you turned me on to it.
Hell yeah. Highly recommend it. If you're listening to this podcast, I assume you're into that. You'd probably be into that too. Yeah, I started listening to that a couple years ago, and it keeps me company when I do my laundry and clean my apartment, etc. And this one has recently become my new keeping me company while I do my laundry.
Yay! Yay! That's the whole goal.
Mm-hmm.
The whole goal. Well, if you are new here to the podcast, I do a segment every episode called My Brinterruption, and I get to talk about my life a little bit. So today's story, Molly, you don't know this either.
Okay.
I've been letting my cats out on the balcony just to have some like outside time, and they both really love it out there. And I keep it open like most of the evening when it cools down a little bit. And usually Basil, when it's time to come inside, she will like run in the door. She like doesn't want to be locked out, so she runs as fast as she can when she realizes that's what time it is. And boof, like I have to scoop up and bring in. But the other night I went out there and it was late. It was like 2 a.m. But I scooped Boof, brought him inside, kind of looked around to make sure Basil was inside, closed the door, went to bed, right? And then I woke up in the morning and I was like, where is Basil? And it turns out she has found a new corner of the balcony where she lays down. And in the darkness, I just didn't see her.
No.
And she like didn't move like she normally does. So she was at the balcony door, like howling.
Oh, poor girl.
I don't know if you remember when I first got her and she was in her cage, like those sounds she was making.
Mm-hmm.
That is the sound. Like,
oh, baby.
So upset, and I let her in and she like ran under the bed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a bad cat mom.
Give you the silent treatment for a second.
I just wanted to make sure, like, I like took the water bowl and like put it by the bed, and like the food is right by my bed anyway, so just like making sure she got what she needed after being locked out for a solid 8 hours.
Oh my god, 8 hours?
Oh yeah, it was overnight.
Oh no. Oh my god, wait, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Oh, honey. Well,
the whole night.
I'm sure she has grown through that experience, maybe against her will, but
and they
so
were
much
like
braver for it.
They were mowing
Oh, God.
at my apartment complex that morning, and she was out there that whole time. I was like, girl, I am so sorry.
Oh,
but she's
babe.
okay.
She can handle anything
fine.
now.
Yeah,
She's
it's
a brave
true.
girl.
It's true. And she's completely fine now. Right now, she is climbing around in my fireplace. Basil.
Oh. That's quite a spot to choose.
Anyway, you ready to jump into the case?
I'm ready.
Okay. Today, we are heading deep into the chilling snow-covered landscape of the White Mountains.
The White Mountains? Where's that?
Near New Hampshire.
Ah, okay.
We're unraveling a case that has stumped investigators and captivated the online amateur sleuths for 2 decades.
Oh.
We are talking about the disappearance of Maura Murray.
Okay.
We start on the evening of February 9th, 2004. The air in Haverhill, New Hampshire is biting cold, like bone aching cold.
Yep, not my thing.
Me neither.
I say from Chicago, but
yeah, that's true.
all you need
it's
is a good
cold
jacket and you're good.
Ugh, I can't. Route 112, also known as Wild Ammonoosuc Road, is a desolate stretch, especially at night, winding through rural isolation and likely blanketed in snow from a recent storm. The darkness out there isn't just a lack of light. It feels like there is nowhere to go. Like it's kind of suffocating from what I read. And then breaking that eerie silence is the sight of a black 1996 Saturn sedan. It's not just parked on the side of the road, it's crumpled against a snowbank. Its windshield cracked on the driver's side, both airbags deployed, and the radiator pushed into the fan, rendering it inoperable.
Ugh, that can't have been fun. Whatever led to that.
It's a scene that screams car crash, but here's the thing. When first responders arrived, the car was completely silent, and its driver, a 21-year-old nursing student named Maura Murray, was nowhere to be found. Gone.
Interesting.
This isn't just a missing persons case, though. As you'll see, it's a vanishing act that unfolded in mere minutes, right on the side of a lonely road. A local resident who heard a loud thump around 7 p.m. called the Grafton County Sheriff's Department at 7:27 p.m. to report the accident. A passing motorist, a school bus driver named Butch Atwood, stopped and spoke with a young woman, presumed to be Maura, around 7:43 p.m. He offered to call for help, but she declined, claiming she had already contacted AAA. But here's the kicker. When the police arrived at 7:46, just 3 minutes after Atwood's call to the police, the car was abandoned and she had vanished. She was gone long before officers even got there.
Damn.
So think about that for a second. In a matter of minutes, in a cold, isolated, snow-covered environment, a person can't simply just walk away to safety, right? Especially after a car crash, without leaving a trace or being easily found. She couldn't have gotten far if she just walked away. It's just really unusual.
Well, yeah.
It had to be something more than just a simple accident. It implies either an incredibly swift, pre-planned escape, which seems unlikely given the car crash, or something external. Somebody picked her up, or something even worse than that. It's a big puzzle of the case, obviously. Like, where did she go? And it's really compelling and frustrating for everyone involved. And the initial investigation was already kind of playing catch up, trying to solve this mystery.
Gotcha.
So who was Maura Murray? She wasn't just a name on a missing persons poster. Maura was a 21-year-old nursing student completing her junior year at the University of Massachusetts Amherst.
Mm-hmm.
Born on May 4th, 1982 in Brockton, Massachusetts, she was the fourth of 5 children in an Irish Catholic household. Her parents divorced when she was 6, and she primarily lived with her mom.
Okay.
Maura was a standout student and athlete. She graduated from Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, where she was a star on the track team. Her ambition even led her to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, where she studied chemical engineering for 3 semesters. But West Point just wasn't quite the right fit for her, so she transferred to UMass Amherst to pursue nursing.
Okay.
So she's clearly very smart, very bright, very capable. There was a lot going for her. But as we dig deeper, we start to see that beneath the surface, Maura was navigating a series of increasingly stressful events. Almost like a pressure cooker.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of building this whole time.
Oh, I know what that's like.
Oh, don't we all?
Mm-hmm.
This bad week really kicked off a cascade of stressors for Maura. It actually started a few months earlier in November 2003 when she admitted to using a stolen credit card to order food from several restaurants.
Mm.
The charge was continued, meaning it would be dismissed after 3 months of good behavior.
Mm-hmm.
But this shows a prior instance of Maura making questionable decisions,
Mm-hmm.
possibly under duress, and facing legal consequences.
Yeah.
So her life wasn't always perfectly on track, despite what it may have looked like from the outside.
Yeah. Understandable.
Then, just 4 days before she vanished, on February 5th, 2004, Maura experienced a significant emotional breakdown. While on duty at her campus security job, she received a distressing phone call from her older sister, Kathleen. They discussed Kathleen's relationship problems, but Kathleen also struggled with alcohol abuse and had just been discharged from rehab that evening. And on the way home, her fiancé took her to a liquor store.
Good. That's a choice to make for your
sad. It's sad.
A supportive significant other. He is not.
When Maura heard this, it hit her really hard. She broke down in tears. She became completely zoned out and unresponsive. Her supervisor at work had to escort her back to her dorm room around 1:20 a.m. When her boss asked her what was wrong, Maura could only manage 2 words: my sister. She obviously had a deep concern for her family and felt probably really helpless. So
but was her sister was she like coherent on this call? Like she was at least like able to describe everything that was happening, I guess, in the moment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was kind of filling Maura in on, like, I just got out of rehab and here's what I've been doing since then, and then talked about, like, her relationship issues. And then just, like, slid in. Like,
And then, by the way,
I'm already drinking, like,
gotcha.
12 hours after being out of rehab. So Maura's having this very public, visible, emotional collapse.
Yeah.
Which, again, we've all been there. The very next weekend brought another blow. On Saturday, February 7th, Maura's father, Fred Murray, arrived in Amherst to help her with car shopping. That evening, Maura borrowed his Toyota Corolla to attend a dorm party, and she left that party at 2:30 a.m. on Sunday, February 8th. This is a big timeline, so let me know if you need anything explained.
Okay.
Then at 3:30 a.m., while returning to her father's motel, she had a minor car accident, striking a guardrail on Route 9 in Hadley. This crash caused nearly $10,000 worth of damage to Fred's car.
Ew.
Police were dispatched to the scene, but curiously, there's actually no documentation of field sobriety tests being conducted. A tow truck, right? Like, you would think...
Coming back from a party at 3:30 a.m., but...
Right.
Okay.
A tow truck dropped her off at the Quality Inn where her father was staying. And shortly after, at 5:36 a.m., which is early, she called her boyfriend Bill from her father's cell phone for 11 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill called her back for another 5 minutes. Later that morning, Fred learned the damage would be covered by insurance. This accident, especially involving her father's car, added a layer of emotional stress on top of what she was already feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it was said that Maura hated to disappoint her dad and was known to be her own worst critic.
Relatable.
So on their own, these events, yes, are stressful.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put them together, it's a pattern of someone kind of nearing that breaking point.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I assume that's what comes next.
Her sister Julie observed that Maura had a past struggle with an eating disorder and linked Maura's late night calls for food to a loss of control. Julie also acknowledged that Maura was making poor decisions leading up to her disappearance and that her behavior was not characteristic of what she would normally act like.
Mm-hmm.
So this young woman is under a lot of immense strain,
mm-hmm.
and that might lead her to making impulsive or desperate decisions.
Yeah.
So this brings us to Monday, February 9th, 2004, the day Maura vanished.
Mm-hmm.
Her actions that day were pretty deliberate, like it seems like she had a plan, but also kind of cryptic. And it's really unclear what her actual intentions were, even though she had a plan. In the early morning, after midnight, Maura used her computer to search MapQuest.
Miss her.
That's a throwback.
That was a staple.
So she used MapQuest to find directions to the Berkshires, one of those two, and Burlington, Vermont. 2 different places.
Okay.
Later at 2:05 p.m., she called a number providing information about lodging in Stowe, Vermont. It's also reported that directions to Burlington were found in her car. So she printed out the MapQuest.
Yep, seen many of those on my parents' passenger seat.
Right? Like, I remember being co-pilot and being like, oh, okay.
Oh,
Turn here.
Same.
Her father, Fred, even thought she might have been headed to Bartlett, New Hampshire, which is a place the family frequently visited. And phone records and web searches seemed to support that idea. These actions indicated a planned trip, but the multiple unrelated destinations are confusing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, which one was she going to? Was she going to all 3? Where was she driving, right?
Okay.
Was she indecisive? That could be another thing too. Or maybe she was trying to throw someone off of her scent.
Mm-hmm.
Her communications that afternoon only added to the mystery. At 1 p.m., she emailed her boyfriend Bill, stating she didn't feel like talking but promised to call later. Then at 1:13 p.m., she called a fellow nursing student, but the most significant communication came at 1:24 when she emailed her professors and work supervisor informing them that she would be out of town for a week due to a death in the family.
Oh?
Her family later confirmed this was completely untrue. There had been no death in the family.
All right, I had a feeling.
At 2:18 p.m., she left a voicemail for Bill, again promising they would talk later. The false email about a death in the family is a major red flag, suggesting a desire to create a cover story for her absence. And those messages to Bill promising to call later are particularly poignant, and they make me wonder if she intended to return or at least communicate rather than just disappearing forever. When campus police later searched her dorm room, they found most of her belongings actually packed in boxes and the art removed from the walls. This detail has often been used to support the theory that she was planning to disappear permanently. However, her sister Julie offered a different perspective, saying that Maura had only moved into a new dorm room 12 days prior and simply hadn't finished unpacking yet.
Okay. Can anyone confirm that claim, or
Nope.
is that just okay? All right.
Julie even noted that Maura had made some progress of unpacking, like she had some things done, but most of everything was still in boxes. And this is a point of contention in the case. If she was truly packing to disappear forever, why would she pack her college textbooks? Julie's perspective offers a more logical explanation that leans away from like the whole I left on purpose, like I left of my own volition and wanted to disappear.
Yeah, definitely.
The last definitive confirmed movements of Maura Murray were captured on camera, actually. At 3:30 p.m., she departed the UMass Amherst campus in her black Saturn sedan. Classes at the university had been canceled that day due to a snowstorm, which might explain her timing. Classes were canceled anyway. She could leave. 10 minutes later, at 3:40 p.m., she withdrew $280 in cash from an ATM. Surveillance footage shows that she's alone. There's nobody with her. Shortly after, between 3:45 and 4 p.m., Maura stopped at a nearby liquor store, purchasing approximately $40 worth of alcohol, including Bailey's Irish Cream, Kahlua, vodka, and a box of Franzia. And again, surveillance showed she was alone. The last recorded use of her cell phone was at 4:37 p.m. when she checked a voicemail.
Okay.
These actions on February 9th, like I said, highly deliberate. She went from place to place. She knew where she was going. She was searching directions, sending emails, making calls, withdrawing cash, buying alcohol, packing items. Yet the purpose of this trip is there are so many contradictions about the purpose. She searches for multiple different destinations. She lies about a family death. She tells her boyfriend she will call later. She packs textbooks and birth control. This isn't just a spontaneous, aimless drive. It's a calculated departure. But the mixed signals about where she was going kind of add ambiguity to it. And it made it really difficult for investigators to determine her intentions.
Yeah.
Which is a huge part of why this is such a mystery.
Yeah, I can assume that did not help the progression of the pursuit of justice.
And we will go through theories later.
Okay.
So let's talk about the crash site.
Can I just say what you described, the crash site? It reminds me of the first episode of, actually the first scene of Game of Thrones. We just started watching it recently. We're showing our friend, spreading the gospel. And you know when the rangers like walk up to the campsite where there are lots of dead people and then go back, tell their buddy, come back, and they're all gone. within like a matter of minutes. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say she's probably not a White Walker, but you know,
probably not, but the chance is never 0%, right? So Maura has left UMass, made her stops, and is now driving north. The next time we have any information about her is when her car is found crashed. And this is where things get really, really messy, because the initial accounts from the crash scene are, shall we say, a bit of a hot mess.
Well, yeah. I would be very confused if I came across that, to say the least.
So we're going to go through the timeline of what happened after this crash happened.
Okay.
That makes sense. After the crash. Around 7 p.m., a resident of Woodsville, New Hampshire heard a loud thump outside her house, right? Mm-hmm. At 7:27, she called the sheriff's department to report a car accident. And this is where the first major discrepancy pops up.
Okay.
The 911 log initially stated the woman claimed to have seen a man smoking a cigarette inside the car. However, she later clarified that she had not seen a man or someone smoking, but rather just a red light glowing from inside the car, potentially from a cell phone.
Okay. How you confuse those two things?
That's what I'm saying.
Peculiar. But okay.
And this immediate contradiction from the very first witness sets a precedent for like the unreliability of all of this early information.
Yeah.
It's like trying to build a house on quicksand, sort of. And then we have the encounter with Butch Atwood, the school bus driver.
Yeah.
At 7:43 p.m., he was a passing motorist who lived nearby, and he stopped at the scene. He saw the car and a young woman, presumed to be Maura, walking around the vehicle. He noted she wasn't visibly injured, but she was cold and shivering. He offered to call for help, but Maura reportedly declined, claiming she had already contacted AAA. This is crucial because he knew that there was no cell service in that area. So how would she have called AAA?
Okay, did he say anything about her condition? Like,
he
was
said
she okay?
Yeah,
she wasn't hurt by the crash.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. No, she didn't appear to be injured. She appeared to be like
at least coherent and
calm and coherent. Yeah. So despite her refusal to call AAA, he drove home and called the police, with his call received at 7:43 p.m. Butch Atwood is considered the last person known to have spoken to Maura, but there's another wrinkle here. Maura's sister, Julie, noted that the bus driver was quoted in local news sharing various accounts of their interaction. Maura's refusal of help and her false claim about AAA are highly suspicious. And why would she lie? Was she trying to avoid the police or hide something? And the varying accounts that this guy is telling just dilute the mystery even more. Just 3 minutes later, at 7:46, a police officer arrived at the scene, but just minutes after Atwood's call, the car was abandoned. She was gone.
Okay.
No one inside or around the car. And get this, another local resident claimed to have passed the scene around 7:37, so just 9 minutes before the police got there, and saw a police SUV parked face to face with Maura's car, but didn't actually see anyone inside or outside either vehicle.
Interesting.
And that account contradicts the official police log that indicates that police arrived 9 minutes later.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if that had been confirmed. Okay, so who's hallucinating here? Who's lying?
Right. It's all very confusing. The responding officer and the bus driver did drive around the area searching for her. EMS and a fire truck arrived just before 8 p.m., and by 8:49 p.m., the car had been towed to a garage. The quick disappearance before the police arrived is the central enigma of this case.
Mm-hmm.
Just so many contradictions and questions about the actual timeline. And if it wasn't enough, we have conflicting accounts about the car's condition itself, too. The official police report stated that Maura's vehicle had impacted a tree on the driver's side, causing severe damage to the left headlight and pushing the radiator into the fan, which made it inoperable. The windshield on the driver's side was cracked, and both airbags had deployed. The car was locked. Sounds like it was totaled, right?
Uh-huh.
But the bombshell is that Maura's sister Julie revealed in a private analysis of the car by a vehicle reconstructionist told a totally different story. This specialist found that the damage was not consistent with hitting a tree, and in fact, the car was technically drivable. The hood was pushed back and buckled in the middle, causing the radiator support to bend, but these events must have occurred while the vehicle was moving forward, meaning the damage didn't happen while she was parked or stopped.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so where did Julie get this information? I mean, she was not here for this, right?
Right. She wasn't at the site, but after they towed Maura's car to the garage, she had a private, what do you call it? Like a private specialist.
Like she had someone else go do it, and then, okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And they were like, that police report might not be as accurate as we thought.
Okay.
If the car was drivable, Maura had more options than just walking away or waiting for help.
Mm-hmm.
So it's even more doubt on this police assessment, and it opens up entirely new doors of possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the evidence that was
Okay.
actually left at the scene now.
Mm-hmm.
It's really chaotic. Timelines are fuzzy. Car's condition is up for debate, but the actual items found inside and around the Saturn tell us more about the story, at the very least. The things she left behind, and crucially, the things she took with her, or perhaps didn't take with her, depending on what happened. Inside the car, police found red stains that they attributed to a box of red wine. An empty beer bottle and a damaged box of Franzia were found on the rear seat. Other personal effects included Maura's AAA card, gloves, compact discs, hello,
Compact discs. Aw.
and makeup.
Okay.
She also had diamond jewelry, of all things.
Oh. Fancy.
In terms of documents, they found blank accident report forms for her father's car from that crash she had earlier.
Yeah.
And forms to reinstate her suspended license after being pulled over for excessive speeding. Travel-related items included her duffel bag, school books, MapQuest directions to New Hampshire and Vermont, and an empty Coca-Cola bottle containing remnants of red wine.
Oh.
Which, what a move to put red wine in a Coca-Cola bottle.
Yeah. And have it in the car you're operating.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, she's not making great decisions.
Nope. Didn't think that one through.
Her favorite stuffed animal was actually also in the car, which pulls at my heartstrings.
Were they okay?
And another thing they found in the car was a book that was a little bit intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Not Without Peril, a book about mountain climbing in the White Mountains. So this is suggesting that Maura did intend to return and deal with her problems, not just permanently disappear. The alcohol, however, points to her state of mind or intent for the trip. Was it a fun getaway, or was it something else?
It's not giving fun getaway if I had to come to my own conclusion. But that's just me.
I would agree, and you're not alone in that. Now, what was missing from the scene is just as important, if not more so. Crucially, Maura's debit card, credit cards, and cell phone were nowhere to be found. None of these have ever been located or used since her disappearance. Police also reported that some of the purchased liquor bottles were missing as well. The missing financial instruments and the phone are highly significant. If she intended to start a new life, these would be vital.
Yeah.
And their absence and the fact that she didn't use them after the crash at all makes this planned new life scenario less plausible.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Repeat?
So the fact that her phone and credit cards were missing from the car,
Yeah.
but were not used ever again after she disappeared, point to the fact that this new life theory, like just leaving to start a new life, like how is she spending money? How is she like contacting people if she's not using her cell phone? Which, like, she could have been using that cash she withdrew, but it was only, I mean, it was less than $300. So at some point, yeah.
I'm surprised they never found the phone. Like,
I know.
Given the ability to track it and at least, like, see the last place it was on, and that can't be good.
And remember, it's 2004. So they don't have the technology that we have now 20 years later. So they might not have been able to find out as much as we can now.
Yeah, like pin the exact location. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have these truly odd details that made me think, like, wait, what is going on here? And this is where I kind of started forming my own theories, but I'll hold off on that.
Okay.
First, a rag, believed to be part of Maura's emergency roadside kit, was discovered stuffed into the Saturn's muffler pipe.
Oh.
Was she trying to fix something?
I don't know what kind of fix that is, but
right.
Me and all of my mechanical knowledge, that doesn't ring a bell.
That's my thing too, is like, I don't know exactly what would happen if you did that. Like, would the fumes come into the car? Would it eventually catch on fire?
Yeah,
like,
that's kind of what I'm thinking.
So it might have been her or someone else tampering with the car for a different reason. Second, a random Chrysler part was found in Maura's car. Remember, this is a Saturn.
Yeah.
And there was a white scuff mark that was found on her rear bumper.
Okay, a Chrysler part. Do we know anyone that drives a Chrysler in her life? I mean...
Nope.
All right.
Nope. So here we're going to talk about the investigation a little bit, and then we're going to talk about theories as to what happened.
Okay.
After Maura's disappearance, the initial police response was to treat her as a missing person, believing that she wanted to disappear voluntarily.
Yeah.
This was based on her travel preparations, which she hadn't confided to anybody, and the absence of obvious evidence of foul play at the scene. There was nothing there. However, the official stance on the case has evolved over time. In 2009, 5 years later, the case was transferred to New Hampshire's Cold Case Division and is now handled as a suspicious missing persons case. So leaning more towards she maybe didn't leave
maybe didn't
of her
do
own
that on her
volition.
own. Yeah.
Despite decades passing, there hasn't been a single credible sighting of Maura since those minutes after her car crashed.
Jeez.
The case remains open and active. The shift in classification, though, is significant, indicating that authorities have moved away from that voluntary disappearance over time, and the lack of credible sightings, again, just underscores this whole mystery, not knowing what that first timeline would have been.
Yeah. Okay, so them assuming that she disappeared voluntarily for however many years before they started getting suspicious, does that mean they never looked for a body or anything like that?
We'll get into it.
Okay.
Maura's family, however, has been relentless in their pursuit of answers and often quite critical of the official investigation.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I just remembered the earlier detail about the police car that was there then wasn't there, and whose report is actually lining up.
Yes. That's what her family is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Fred, her father, firmly believes that his daughter is dead and was a victim of a crime.
Yeah.
He is pretty unwavering in his search, stating, "There's no letting go, and my daughter wouldn't want me to quit on her."
Mm-hmm.
That's a quote. He wants to keep her case in the public eye, hoping for a breakthrough, just to figure out who did it, not necessarily what happened.
Yeah.
He's pretty sure she's dead. The family is particularly frustrated with the police for not involving the FBI sooner. They did eventually get involved, but not soon enough.
Yeah.
The rule with disappearances is after the first 48 hours, it gets
almost
really
impossible,
hard.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the family said they feared it was to avoid exposing their own mistakes.
Yeah, that tracks.
Fred even fought in vain, unfortunately, all the way to the New Hampshire Supreme Court to get the investigation records.
What?
But he was denied.
That's not suspicious at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, legally what is available to the public or someone related, but still, that doesn't sound right.
Because it's still an open case, it was never a closed case.
Yeah, okay.
It's harder to get the records.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only so much that they'll release to the public. You can get some things, but
yeah.
they had the police report, right? But it wasn't lining up. So they wanted further information. He fought it for as long as he could, and they denied him. So
okay, so being classified as a cold case, does that mean it's still open? Okay.
Yes.
It's open, but it's probably never going to go anywhere unless someone chooses to re-examine.
Yes. It's basically cold until they get new evidence.
Yeah. Okay.
Or technology advances.
Mm-hmm.
Maura's sister, Julie, has made several specific allegations regarding what she perceives as missed evidence and incompetence by the police.
Yeah.
She claimed that police allegedly did not adequately connect with potential key figures, such as the owner of a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire, whom Maura called on the day she disappeared. Julie stated that when she contacted this owner, they claimed it was the first time in over 19 years anyone had mentioned their number being found in a high-profile missing person's car.
Right. Okay. That seems like that's quite the detail to overlook.
Yes. This person owned a condo 25 miles from the crash site. Julie also alleged police never followed up on a handwritten phone number and address found in Maura's car.
Oh, come on.
Mm-hmm.
What were they doing? Hello?
That's what I'm saying. She claimed police did not search east of the accident site, which was the direction that Maura was headed. despite a neighbor and sergeant searching west. So they only searched west. They did not search in the direction she would have been driving.
Right. That sounds intentional, if you ask me.
Julie broadly cited, quote, breaks and protocols and instances of incompetence by police. The family's perspective is pretty crucial here, with their deep-seated belief in foul play and their frustration in the investigation, understandably. So let's talk about theories of what actually happened. There are 3 different theories. There's foul play, voluntary disappearance, and accident/exposure.
Oh, like exposure to the elements, or never mind the part where she disappeared from the crash site, but curious to see what supports these theories.
The first theory is foul play. This is the theory the Murray family strongly believes. The overwhelming consensus within her family is that she was met with foul play at the hands of someone. Julie believes her body hasn't been found because she took a ride with someone from the scene of the crash and was met with foul play. Fred is convinced that this is a quote, some local dirtbag grabbed her. Oh, there was also a man renting a house about a mile from the crash site that reportedly refused a polygraph test.
Wait, he owned a condo near the crash site.
Yeah, he was renting a house near the crash site, and the police went and talked to him and said, something happened to her. We have no leads. You live very close by. You might have heard what happened. You might have been this suspect.
But that was the only connection, was that he lived. Okay.
And they said, come take a polygraph test. And he said, no, thank you.
Okay. I mean, I kind of see it.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Polygraph tests are so unreliable that I have been told never take a polygraph test.
Yep. That's what I've learned from Murder with My Husband. His polygraph tests are a sure way to maybe dig your own grave.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're not admissible in court anyway.
Yeah. So what's the point?
Yeah. This guy's brother allegedly gave Maura's father a knife found in his brother's glove box, believing it was linked to Maura's disappearance, even though DNA results didn't confirm that.
Wait, who gave him that?
The guy renting the house.
What?
Was like, oh, this was in my brother's glove box. Maybe he did something.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Right. It's all very confusing.
Uh-huh.
Fred Murray described Maura as, quote, very trusting, naive in a way in certain situations, suggesting that she might have accepted help from the wrong person. And finally, a police dog reportedly tracked Maura's scent from one of her gloves, but lost the scent 100 yards east from the vehicle. So when they finally did search east, they got about 100 yards, and then the dog was like, IDK.
Okay. Did they do any digging around there, or like...
The dog is supposed to catch that scent, right?
Okay. So like, when they get there, it would... Like, you would think it would, like, go a little crazy. Like, all right, we're here. Gotcha.
Yeah, even underneath, like, the snow or buried underground, the dog should indicate that there's a body there.
Weird. Maybe she flew away.
That was my next point. Not necessarily that she flew away, but she could have either gotten into a vehicle or the trail she was on ended abruptly, which in a cold area could mean someone up and grabbed her. It's the theory is also supported by the family's insights and the information that they looked into, particularly with the vehicle. And it shows that there's room here for an opportunistic crime to occur.
Yeah.
even if it wasn't premeditated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it probably wasn't if this is what happened.
Yeah.
I can't imagine someone was, like, driving around looking for someone stranded on the side of the road.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems
Yeah.
like a waste of a day.
The second theory here is voluntary disappearance and or suicide.
Mm.
And, of course, quick trigger warning, we're going to talk about suicide here, so if you need to, you can skip ahead a few minutes. Early in the investigation, police stated they believed Maura might have come to the area to run away or commit suicide. This was the initial official stance. However, Maura's family, particularly her sister Julie, really disagree with this. Julie believes her sister's actions point to her wanting to return home, not disappear permanently or commit suicide. Maura turned in a homework assignment at 3:32 a.m. on February 9th, just hours before she left.
Oh, wow.
Why would she
Good
do
for
that?
her.
Right? That's what I'm saying. As Julie put it, quote, "Who puts that kind of effort in if they plan to disappear?"
Yeah.
Maura also called a condo owner in Bartlett, New Hampshire, which was the family vacation spot that we talked about, asking about renting a space, and called an information line about booking hotels in Vermont. So this is looking like just a temporary getaway, maybe, just leaving, getting away from it all for a little while.
Yeah.
The email to her supervisor about the death in the family was a lie, sure, but Julie interprets it as an attempt to buy herself a week of time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
yeah,
I assume mental health days were not really a common practice back then, let alone mental health 2 weeks.
Right. And sometimes you just need a second.
Yeah, definitely.
On top of that, Maura picked up important forms, including those accident papers for her father's car and forms to reinstate her license. These were found in her car, and while early reports suggested her dorm room was packed, like we said earlier, Julie just thought she maybe hadn't finished unpacking 12 days after she moved rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this significantly weakens the voluntary disappearance theory. And their points about the future-oriented actions are logical, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The third theory is accident and exposure. This theory says that Maura, disoriented or injured after the crash, wandered off into the freezing woods and succumbed to the elements. The police dog losing her scent 100 yards east of the vehicle could suggest, like we said, she got into another car or the trail just ended. And while plausible in a remote cold area, this theory is significantly weakened by the private vehicle analysis that the car was drivable. If the car was drivable, she wasn't necessarily stranded and forced to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
There are also a few theories that have popped up over the years, often fueled by online speculation, and they've largely been dismissed by law enforcement and experts. For instance, serial killer Israel Keys was briefly considered, but police dismissed any connection. Then there's the whole Mr. 112 Dirtbag saga.
Forgot about that guy.
Stay with me. A YouTuber posted cryptic and disturbing videos regarding Maura's disappearance. Her family and experts dismissed these as just a hoax, like a cruel hoax.
Mm-hmm. Wait, this was like sort of in the same time frame, or like, because I'm picturing. Okay. I was wondering if it was like a crime YouTube channel that like recently. Okay.
No, it was
Sus.
just a weirdo.
Weird. Okay.
And finally, police have also dismissed any connection between Maura's case and another young woman who went missing in a nearby area. Her name was Brianna Maitland.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, no, those are not related.
Okay.
So it helps to narrow the focus of the investigation, kind of pushing aside the theories that are probably not credible. But again, the chance is never zero. So what we have here is a persistent disconnection between the family and the official investigation's stance, or lack thereof. The family perceives a lack of transparency and competence, while the police maintain an open and active but largely silent investigation.
Mm-hmm.
This creates a battle for truth, where public trust and understanding are kind of fractured. The public doesn't quite trust what the police are saying.
Well, yeah, understandably.
It means that even if new evidence were to emerge, it would likely be viewed through a lens of skepticism by one side or the other.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows how the initial investigative choices can impact public perception and the family's ability to find closure, which they deserve.
Yeah.
The Maura Murray case has become a true crime phenomenon, attracting immense attention in both new and traditional media. It's a testament to the baffling nature of the case and our innate desire for answers.
Mm-hmm.
There are online communities, websites, message boards, and forums where new facts and theories, and sometimes rumors, are constantly uncovered and debated, keeping the case alive.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these media outlets that are dedicated to this case, I'll just list a few here. Podcasts, you have Missing Maura Murray, which is kind of the central hub, but also Crawl Space, True Crime Garage, Martinis and Murder, Crime at Bedtime. Countless other podcasts have covered it. It's a pretty big one.
Mm-hmm.
There have been documentaries. Oxygen Network produced a 6-part investigative series called The Disappearance of Maura Murray.
Mm.
And there's also one called Miles to Nowhere.
Interesting.
And there's a book. I thought this was interesting. It's written by James Renner, and it's called True Crime Addict: How I Lost Myself in the Mysterious Disappearance of Maura Murray.
Interesting. Is that like more about himself?
It's a little bit of both.
Uh-huh.
It goes through how he researched the case.
Yeah. Just like out of his own interest, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah. Almost from like an investigative journalist perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And how he went down the rabbit hole and still never had answers.
Yeah.
So he just kept getting deeper and deeper into it and lost himself.
Mm.
It makes sense because this case is so confusing and so baffling. And everyone's going to have a theory. And there are debates on Reddit about all these theories too.
I'm
There's
sure.
so many Reddit feeds. Despite the passage of time, the Murray family's commitment to finding answers remains unwavering. Julie continues her efforts, including her own podcast, where she shares insights and analysis.
Oh.
And that's the Missing Maura Murray podcast is Julie's. Fred Murray's relentless search, his refusal to give up, and his public appeals are a constant reminder of the human cost of this mystery.
Mm-hmm.
The family maintains an active social media presence on Twitter and Facebook groups, and they still have GoFundMe efforts to fund searches and investigations.
Oh, wow.
The family's persistence is the emotional core of this case, I would say, driving much of the continued public interest and investigative efforts. Like, if they weren't doing that, Maura would just disappear to the ether.
Yeah.
But here's the stark reality. Maura Murray has been missing for over 20 years.
Jeez.
There hasn't been a single credible sighting of her since those fleeting minutes after the crash.
Mm-hmm.
The case remains open and active, but without a resolution. And the profound and enduring nature of the mystery and the frustration seems to defy all the attempts at resolution. Unfortunately. The immense public media attention surrounding the Maura Murray case, while vital for keeping it alive and ensuring the family's fight continues, also creates this paradox. It provides resources and attention, but also introduces noise, misinformation, false reports, emotional distress, hoaxes. It's a lot. There's pros and cons. Public fascination is vital for cold cases because it brings information in, but it's uncontrolled.
Yeah.
Investigators not only have to follow leads, but contend with a vast body of citizen detective work, which can be frustrating.
Oh, I'm sure.
But cases have been solved that way.
Yeah.
So, again, pros and cons. For the family, it's a source of hope, but also renewed pain. And it's an example of how modern true crime operates, where the lines between official investigation, media coverage, and public sleuthing are kind of blurred, which obviously I am a part of. So, yeah, you just have to figure out like what's backed up by other sources, and you have to make sure you've got that information correct. I always try my best, but there are just some things that are gonna slip through the cracks.
Yeah. I mean, and it's an extra layer of difficulty when I feel like the least reliable source is the official one.
Right.
It's
hard.
Disheartening. Yeah.
So here we are 2 decades later, still grappling with the reality of a young woman who, under immense personal pressure, seemingly vanished into thin air after a car crash on a desolate road. The lack of body, a clear motive, or any credible sightings for 20 years leaves us with a big, haunting question mark. All this to say, this case is a reminder that some mysteries, despite the public and private effort in the community, can still remain unsolved. The hope for answers, though, does continue to burn. If anyone anywhere knows anything about this case, no matter how small or insignificant it might seem, please, please, please come forward. You can contact the New Hampshire State Police at 1-800-525-5555. Easy to remember. Every piece of information, no matter how small, could really be the one that finally tells us what happened, and at least would give the family some more answers and maybe some semblance of closure. And that's the case of the disappearance of Maura Murray.
Gosh, her poor family. I cannot imagine. I mean, I don't think I would ever let it go either.
No, you could never get over that. Losing a child, especially like that, and never knowing what happened.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, I'm curious how they feel about, I'm sure, the thousands of random people that have weighed in on the case and what they think. I mean, some good and some bad that come with that.
And people online can be mean.
Yeah. I know. Gosh, I feel bad earlier for being suspicious about Julia for a second, but God.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
We just don't know. If I had to pick a theory, I think she crashed on the side of the road. Someone, maybe that police car, it could have been a police officer, or someone else that maybe just had a car that looked like a police car, probably pulled up facing her car and was like, oh, let me help you. And she was like, okay. And in the 3 minutes between the 911 call and the police showing up, he just grabbed her and took off.
Yep. That would be my theory as well, unfortunately.
I know. And it could have been that guy that lived really nearby, or it could have been just someone passing through.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to know.
Yeah, I just can't really imagine any of the other explanations with like no bodily evidence or anything around the area.
At this point, I do feel like because the family is still searching, if she succumbed to the elements, like, they would have found something.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think she committed suicide. I don't think that that's what happened. She didn't do anything that indicated that she was going to commit suicide.
Yeah. I mean, I believe her sister, her family, you never know at the end of the day, but like, I feel like I trust them more than I trust the officials in this case. I mean, just thinking of the family, I mean, I can't imagine going through this and just having that question mark eternally and no semblance of justice. I mean, just awful.
It is. And I hope one day the family does get answers that they deserve. I hope there's some sort of something that gets turned over or that technology can pick up on.
Yeah.
Before the family, like, I hate saying this, but before like mom and dad pass away, like, I hope that they can get answers.
Yeah.
Or if you believe in the afterlife, I hope they get answers in the afterlife or something.
Gosh, yeah, that's the least that they deserve.
Yeah, there's just too much going on there for her to like have just fled the crime scene with someone, left all of that stuff there, and gone and started a new life. I think there's just too much going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's gotta be a way to track that at this point. Like, if she's really just out there with another name, I mean, I don't know how you could get away with that at this point.
Well, Mollie, thank you for being on this episode.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Of course. This was so much fun. I'm glad we got to like catch up and talk about murder.
Me too. Long overdue.
Well, listeners, that is all I have for you today. I'll catch you next week with another episode. And until then, remember, friends don't let friends commit crimes.
Hell yeah.
Bye.